abortion rights, and I use that term loosely based on how the Trump administration and the Dobbs decision from the Supreme Court has taken away a woman's right to choose in a vast majority of states, more than 23 states. A woman's a second-class citizen in America. But abortion rights are back on the docket again, and all for all the wrong reasons. I'm here on Legal AF. Let's talk about EMTALA, the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, which was used by the Biden administration in order to try to salvage some reproductive rights for women, requiring, under guidance from the Biden administration, that doctors in emergency care, when they felt it was necessary to protect the life of the mother, provide an abortion, especially when federal funding was involved. Well, Donald Trump just today decided to rip away that last vestige of protection from the Biden administration and rip away the EMTALA guidance. This is a coordinated effort by the Trump administration, because at the very same moment that he changed the guidance, basically telling doctors that they would be violating federal law, they would be violating the Constitution, they would be violating the Dobbs decision, all things the Supreme Court has not decided. If they gave an abortion using federal funds and to try to comply with their obligations to protect the life of the mother, with that new guidance, it was coordinated, because at the very same time, a lawsuit that was filed in the Middle District of Tennessee to challenge EMTALA, to try to get it up to the United States Supreme Court for a ruling, brought by this phony charity, this phony organization, Catholic Medical Association, brought in the Middle District of Tennessee, was dismissed, just as the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, intervened in the case on behalf of a group called Doctors for America, because they don't want a bad ruling, because they got what they wanted out of Donald Trump and his administration with the new change in guidance. I'll explain it all right here on Legal AF. Let's back it up. How'd we get here? Donald Trump takes a lot of credit for things, and he takes credit for ripping away a woman's right to choose. He takes credit for appointing the judges onto the United States Supreme Court in the form of Kavanaugh, of Gorsuch, of Amy Coney Barrett, who joined together with Alito and Thomas, and in the Dobbs decision written by Thomas in 2023, ripped away a woman's right to choose and reversed 50 years of Roe versus Wade and the constitutional protections. It was the first time in constitutional history, in American history, that a constitutional right given was taken away by a subsequent Supreme Court. That is the negative legacy of Donald Trump. And he celebrates it. And now he's trying to cash in and pay off his debts to those anti-abortion groups and right-wing Christian groups that got him elected. He's got his list of campaign promises, and one of them was to change all the things the Biden administration did to try to salvage any type of reproductive rights for women. Remember that after the Dobbs decision, the Biden administration worked hard, agency by agency, to go through the books to try to figure out how they could, whether it was on military bases or it was in the EMTALA law, the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, if they could find a way to use federal funding to push and make sure that this right, even as limited as it would be from the Dobbs decision, taking away a constitutionally protected right to choose, at least in moments of emergency, that doctors would not decline to use an abortion when the life of the mother was in danger. Donald Trump is now going back to those very same guidances and executive orders of Joe Biden and trying to reverse them. And I want to call this out because the American Civil Liberties Union did it in their own postings. I was watching this case in the Middle District of Tennessee, like I watch most of the cases involving abortion rights. Because if we think after the Dobbs decision, the anti-abortion group is done with America, they are not. They fight at Supreme Courts of various states in order to get their people on there, right-wingers on the Supreme Court, so that they interpret their state Supreme Court, their state constitutions as not giving a woman a right to choose. They work hard to get people in the legislature of states to rip away and take out of and or add to their state constitutions to make it clear that there's no right to choose in that particular state. And then they come back around to all the things that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did to protect a woman's rights, and now are going after EMTALA. Now, in 2024, right around this time, almost 1 year ago to the day, the United States Supreme Court issued its ruling about EMTALA. And because they didn't reach the merits of the case and the way that they made their decision, the laws as interpreted by Joe Biden and his guidance stayed in place. And up until June and beyond, EMTALA has been used to ensure that in an emergency situation, at least, a woman has a right to an abortion or will get one if it's medically necessary. But the merits of the EMTALA issue, whether it is constitutionally protected, whether the statute allows for abortion, was coming up back to the United States Supreme Court. But once the Catholic groups who joined together for this Catholic Medical Association, who filed this Middle District of Tennessee case, as soon as they got what they wanted from the Trump administration, almost to the minute, and as soon as the American Civil Liberties Union, representing a competing organization called the Doctors for America, moved to intervene in the case, and they would have likely intervened in the case. They were worried about the bad law being created, even out of the Middle District of Tennessee, even out of the various circuit court, appellate courts, and getting back to the United States Supreme Court. So they didn't like the way this case looked. They got what they wanted from the Trump administration. It was obviously an orchestrated affair. And now that the new guidance is out telling doctors not to give abortions, or it violates federal law, and threatening them in effect, they've dismissed the case. So there's no new case now. Now, what does it mean? It means that there's going to have to be a new filing, maybe by these same groups. Maybe the Doctors for America, led by the American Civil Liberties Union and Democracy Forward, will join together and file a new suit in a better jurisdiction, right? Don't go to Tennessee. Massachusetts and Maine and Rhode Island and Washington and California and DC. These are the places where we can get appropriate independent judiciary making the right rulings. At least give us a fair shot. And we just had a situation where three Trump appointed judges on the DC circuit. There's only a handful of them on there, but the random wheel spun, and three of them, Katsas, Rayo, and Walker, all got they're the appellate panel to decide whether a set of Donald Trump's tariffs are constitutional or not. So even there, the wheel may spin, and Donald Trump must have some amazing giant. I don't know how he can walk around. He must have a giant lucky rabbit's foot in his back pocket, the way he gets some of these things in his favor, like Aileen Cannon being assigned to the case from a very liberal, moderate Southern District of Florida to handle the Mar-a-Lago case, and et cetera, and ad nauseum. There's no other way to put this, folks. There is a way to restore a woman's right to choose in America. It's got to be brick by brick in state constitutions. It's got to be making sure that you wake up and pay attention to state Supreme Court races, like the one in North Carolina that we just covered extensively, like the one in Wisconsin that we just covered extensively, that Elon Musk tried to buy. We keep our eyes open. We don't fall asleep at the switch. We make sure that state by state, in the blue states at least, we get a woman's right to choose reaffirmed, at least at the state level. We can work on a national referendum, a constitutional amendment, which takes 2/3 of the states and 2/3 of the House and the Senate. So if you give the Democrats the House and the Senate in the midterms, there may be 2/3 of the states, frankly, that may be able to get this amendment passed. Won't be overnight. Could take 10 years, but it's worth it to try that. So state Supreme Courts, state constitutions, an amendment, once the Congress is in the right hands, could work. If we can get to 2/3, it's going to be tough. That's one way. And the other way is federal judges and getting Donald Trump. We stop him in his tracks in the appointment of federal judges and the continued appointment from now until the midterms. Take the Senate away from him so he won't be able to confirm as many. And then, in addition to that, if there's an opening on the Supreme Court in the next 2 years, then you want to make sure Donald Trump has difficulty filling them with radical people, if you know what I mean. Especially now that he's not even taking any type of guidance from the Federalist Society, only from Leonard Leo and the rest. formerly from Leonard Leo, and now from Stephen Miller instead. So these are the ways that we can help reinstate women as first-class citizens in America. I support it. I'm glad you support us. You're here on Legal AF. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button. Help us grow this channel. Come over to Legal AF, the Substack. Help us grow that channel. And then, of course, we've got Legal AF, the podcast on the Midas Touch Network. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.